Are you spending hours every single week trying to get successful by fixing your weaknesses? Well, if you are, you might actually be holding yourself back. You see, the top 1% of entrepreneurs, they don't obsess over what they're bad at. Instead, they figure out what they are naturally gifted at, and they just relentlessly multiply those innate strengths.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're distilling the absolute best insights from 40 of the top business books ever written. We're cutting through all the noise to give you one condensed, highly actionable blueprint for success. Whether you're a seasoned founder or, just dreaming of starting your first side hustle, this explainer is literally the ultimate playbook you need to scale your ambitions.
We're breaking this journey down into 4 logical steps. First, we'll cover how to start with no money. Second, how to sell anything to anyone. Third, mastering your marketing. And finally, managing money like the 1%.
Part 1. Start with no money. Building from zero capital.
The foundation of any great business really starts by looking inward. Let's look at this equation pulled from StrengthsFinder 2.0. Talent multiplied by investment equals strength. Think about it like this. Imagine an average golfer practicing for 10 hours. Now imagine Tiger Woods at age 13 practicing for that exact same amount of time. Every single hour Tiger puts in is worth 10 hours of the average person's practice, simply because his inherent talent, his multiplier, is absolutely massive. When you find your natural multiplier and pour your time into that, you achieve massive success in a fraction of the time. So don't stress about your weaknesses. You can always hire someone else to cover those later.
Right, so once you know your strengths, you need an idea. Peter Thiel, the billionaire founder of PayPal, argues that billion-dollar ideas come from a contrarian truth. This is a real truth about human behavior that people either aren't aware of or they just plain don't want to admit. Think about Steve Jobs creating a phone with absolutely no buttons when the BlackBerry was ruling the world, or Uber betting that we'd actually be perfectly comfortable getting into a total stranger's car. Going against the grain like that gives you a massive, undeniable head start before the competition even notices what you're up to.
So you've got a contrarian idea, but you have zero money. How do you prove it works? You build an MVP, a minimum viable product. This is just a basic, cost-free version of your product used to prove undeniable demand. The founder of Dropbox is a legendary example of this. Before he ever coded the actual software, he just made a simple video showing how his file storage idea would work. The video was essentially fake. The product didn't even exist yet. But that simple video exploded his waiting list from 5,000 to 75,000 people practically overnight. It gave him the undeniable proof he needed to get massive funding. Now, to execute your MVP, you need urgency. Ever heard of Parkinson's law? It states that work expands to fit the amount of time we allocate to it. Basically, if you give yourself a year to launch a business, guess what? It's going to take exactly a year. And that is why the 12-week year concept is an absolute game changer. If you treat every 3-month quarter as if it were a full 12-month year, you create this constant, electrifying buzz of motivation. Shrinking your deadlines forces you to stop overthinking and just start doing.
Step 2. Sell anything to anyone. The psychology of the sale.
Because let's face it, without sales, you just have a really expensive hobby. And the psychology of a sale actually starts before you ever formally name your price. It starts with price anchoring. This is setting an initial, often super high reference point so that any subsequent prices seem like an absolute bargain. There's this brilliant story of a consultant who is constantly being asked for discounts. So he changed his strategy. Before stating his fee, he'd joke, "Well, as you can see, I can't exactly charge you $1 million for this." By throwing out that absurdly high anchor, clients subconsciously adjusted their expectations. When he followed up with his actual $75,000 fee, they happily paid it without ever asking for a single discount. Pretty clever, right?
Now, what's really interesting is how we actually persuade someone once we're sitting at the negotiation table. In a fascinating study, 152 students negotiated the sale of a mock gas station. And they found that the absolute best, most lucrative deals came from the buyers who focused entirely on the seller's thoughts. Not their own goals and not just generalized empathy, but truly attuning to what the other person was thinking. See, most people pitch by talking about what they want, but the masters, they pitch by focusing on what their prospect wants.
But even with perfect attunement, you're definitely going to face hard objections. So what do you do when you hit a brick wall? You deploy a calibrated question. Specifically, how am I supposed to do that?
Let's say a landlord wants to raise your rent to a ridiculous number. Instead of getting defensive, you calmly ask, how am I supposed to pay that when I only make enough to afford my current rate? This masterful technique, pulled from the book Never Split the Difference, completely transforms confrontation into collaboration. It literally forces the other person to creatively solve your problem, all while making them feel respected and in control.
Step 3. Master your marketing. Scaling through remarkable messaging.
Here's the harsh reality of business. Even the absolute greatest product in the world will fail spectacularly if no one knows it exists. Traditional marketing is everywhere, and let's be honest, we all tune it out. You need a purple cow. This is a concept beautifully articulated by Seth Godin. Imagine driving down a country road. You see a brown cow, you ignore it. It's boring. But if you see a bright purple cow, you would literally hit the brakes, jump out of your car, and take a selfie with it. Your business's unique selling proposition needs to be that purple cow. It must be so remarkably different that people can't help but stop, notice, and eagerly tell all their friends about it. But wait, before you go and scale that bold message, you need to make sure the market actually wants it. And this is where most people fail. They ask their friends and family, who just give them blind, polite encouragement. And honestly, that ruins businesses. To get real data, you have to use the mom test. The rule is super simple. Ask about their life, not your business. So if you want to build a piano learning course, don't ask, hey, do you like my course idea? Instead ask, what was the most frustrating part about trying to learn an instrument last year? This uncovers true pain points and helps you find vast blue oceans of real untapped demand. Okay, so once you acquire those customers, how do you rapidly scale your revenue? You build a value ladder. Think about a standard dental clinic. They don't start by aggressively selling you massive cosmetic surgery on day one, right? No, they get you in the door with a low barrier, super cheap dental checkup. While you're there, they naturally offer a teeth cleaning. Once you trust them, they offer teeth whitening. And eventually, a portion of those highly trusting clients will happily buy the expensive cosmetic surgery. By organically upselling existing satisfied customers, you massively scale your revenue without spending a single extra dime on marketing.
Step 4. Manage money like the 1%, wealth defense, and analytical thinking.
You know, it is genuinely shocking how many brilliant entrepreneurs build amazing empires only to go completely broke simply because they don't know how to defend the wealth they've created. It really comes down to a fundamental difference in how the wealthy view their money. Traditional accounting tells us that sales minus expenses equals profit. But the profit-first method, it flips this entirely on its head. It dictates that sales minus profit equals expenses. By taking your profit cut off the top immediately, you artificially restrict your operating budget. And what does that do? It forces you to be hyper-resourceful. It forces your business to run incredibly lean and efficiently, rather than letting your expenses just bloat out of control.
Protecting your wealth also means understanding the rules of the financial game. Did you know the average U.S. taxpayer will spend over $500,000 on taxes in their lifetime? Yeah. Yet, out of the more than 5,800 pages in the IRS tax code, only about 30 pages actually tell you how to pay taxes. That leaves roughly 5,770 pages explicitly dedicated to helping people legally avoid taxes. When you shift your perspective, the tax code isn't just a penalty, it's actually a massive, highly effective wealth-building tool if you employ a great accountant. But I'll tell you a secret. The biggest threat to your wealth isn't actually taxes, it's your own brain. Let's do a quick test together. Look at the prompt on the screen and listen closely. A bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total. The bat cost exactly $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? Answer it in your head right now as fast as you can. So if you instantly thought 10 cents, you are definitely not alone, but you're also completely incorrect. The real answer is 5 cents. Think about it. If the ball is 5 cents and the bat is $1 more at $1.05, they total $1.10. This perfectly exposes the vital difference between System 1 and System 2 thinking from the book Thinking Fast and Slow. System 1 is fast, intuitive, and highly emotional. It loudly jumps to that 10-cent answer. System 2 is slow, deliberate, and analytical. Jumping to quick, System 1 conclusions when dealing with high-stakes business risks, that's a fatal mistake. You have to force yourself into slow, analytical thinking to protect your business. And this perfectly ties into the concept of dealing with Mr. Market from The Intelligent Investor. Imagine you have a business partner named Mr. Market who comes into your office every single day just shouting out random, highly emotional valuations of your business based purely on his mood.
A savvy entrepreneur simply ignores these daily emotional outbursts. To ensure long-term success, you absolutely must base your decisions purely on hard data and rational thinking, utterly tuning out the emotional, chaotic noise of the market around you.
While we have just covered the ultimate, condensed 40-book playbook, you now know exactly how to start with absolutely nothing, how to sell to anyone, how to market remarkably, and how to fiercely protect your wealth. But I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Passively consuming this explainer, that's the easy part. The real question is, are you disciplined enough to stop preparing, step up, and execute the very first play today? The blueprint is right here in front of you. Now it's time to build your empire.